Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go and check out a sale that just concluded here in Essex County, New York. So let's go and take a look at that auction. It's just wrapped up here.
Yeah, in fact, this was a sale that we, when we're working with our coaching students, we have what we call our pre-selected list, and these are different auctions that we think have good opportunities. They're coming up over the next 30 to 45 days. And this was an auction that we had focused on because we believed that there was, going to be some good deals that were sold in this sale. And there definitely was. And like any kind of auction, especially if you've got over 100 properties, there was properties that went above what we would have paid. That's generally what you're going to find within tax sales. But one thing we have found, and I would say it probably over the last 2 months, and Shade, you can tell me if you agree with me or not, we've seen better deals over the last 2 months than I think we've seen in a few years.
Yeah, we've definitely found some excellent deals. There are some great deals even in this sale. In general, the numbers in this sale are not bad. There's a few cases where people paid up for properties, but generally speaking, they didn't pay that much. I mean, this property here, even for $37,000, I think they paid about 25% of value there for it. Not too bad at all. But there's even better deals in here where I think people picked up properties for even lower percentages of value. It was also kind of a big sale. There were over 100 properties in it, and so we can look at several pages of properties here. But to give you an idea, though, yeah, this property right here sold for $20,000, so not very much. We can see it has they estimate the full market there at $113,000. I think it's valued at a little bit more than that. In fact, I think it's valued at closer to about $150,000, I do believe. In fact, we can look that up here. But essentially, at $20,000, actually no, I think it's valued closer to $130,000 here. I know they got it for under 20% of value, which is a pretty good number, and something that you can't always duplicate in every sale. But again, it was a big sale, so there's actually even more opportunities than just this.
Yeah, well, and if you saw there, they had a schedule showing, which means that we could have sent, and we can look at another one because I'm sure we'll see it again, but you could actually send somebody over there and view the property. You could go view it yourself. You could send a handyman or a realtor or somebody to take interior photos of the inside of the property. That way we can better determine how much we can bid on it and still be profitable. And there was land in this auction. There was commercial property in this auction. There was homes in this auction. There was mobile homes and land in this auction. There was a bunch of good deals. In fact, I think that one that sold for 63. How much was that? Was it valued about 200?
Yeah, so the one here for 63 is a pretty nice property here. Yeah, valued, it is about 200 here. They probably paid roughly 25% of value, maybe a little bit more than that, but it was built in 86. And so, certainly would be worth paying a little bit more. But yeah, this ended up being a pretty good deal on a property that was a little bit newer here. In fact, a lot of these deals were excellent. This property right here as well. This one's another one that is a great deal. The property value on this one is also higher. So they got this one for just $20,000, yeah, which is not very much for this property. And it's valued at, it was built in 1992. So, again, not that old. And again, I think it's valued at 120 or 130,000. I was looking through some of these and checking values here on them, because what was surprising is just how many of these properties sold for very small percentages of value. They sold for amounts varying, even on some of the ones that sold for higher amounts. Like the one there for 80,000, there's still profitability in it. I mean, in other words, they're not going to lose money at what they're just paid a little bit up for it, but they're still going to make money here as they fix it up. Same thing with this one, where they paid 170,000 for it, but it's actually closer to probably a $250,000 to $300,000 property. So it's surprising. There's some properties in here that they paid as little. I mean, what's something that's interesting, you would never know. So we've got a restaurant right here that sold for $70,000, we look at it, it's actually valued at, even just the estimated here is at 383, so almost $40,000. I'm sorry, almost $400,000 in value, on this, picked up for 70. So somebody got a pretty good deal on that piece right there. But you wouldn't even know it. This property right up above it, we click on this, so somebody paid 50,000 for this one. Which, if we're looking at it here, it actually has 8 acres, but it's an older property. But look at that, 4,480 square feet. It's actually pretty big. But you look at the value on it. They estimate the value on this property at like $500,000. So if the value's up there, which I was able to find a value on it for I think Zillow or for Redfin when I was looking, just seeing if I could pull up a number here on it that showed that value. But I thought that was kind of interesting, selling for 10% of value, even though it's this humongous house. I mean, that's got to be one of the biggest in terms of square footage houses, older houses I've seen.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of value in the land. I think that the question I would have about that home is really the condition because of the size and the age. But if the condition is in decent shape, you could probably look up a little bit of the history on it, and it really may be the land value more than anything. Let's say that the land value is worth 400,000. Well, it could be worth it buying it for 50 grand and spending 50 grand to demo the house, and now you've got 8 acres in a prime area that has high value. And so you could rehab that structure. You could maybe subdivide it and rehab it and sell the lots. Or there could even, if there's enough value in land, it could even be worth it to go ahead and destroy the structure, demo it, and then sell the land sell the land itself.
Yeah, really, there were a lot of opportunities throughout this sale for properties. Actually, there were quite a few properties in here that were homes that include land. So there was acreage with a lot of the properties that were in here. But then some of the deals that we see though are for their acreage purchases. So that's kind of what these ones are here. Were a couple of purchases here of acreage, where they paid up just a little bit here for it. But what's surprising though is most of the homes though sold for pretty good low percentages of value. A lot of the homes we're looking at are also occupied, which I thought was interesting. But of the stuff that did sell, most of the homes sold for under 50% of value. Some of them under 25% of value, and there were a few that were even under that.
Go back up a little bit. What's that one right there, 109? Did you look at that one?
Let's see here, 109. It's a mobile home there. Oh, it's got a nice porch on it.
Oh, it's got a basement too.
Yeah, it does have a basement. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, estimated there at 71. What does somebody pay? Somebody paid for it, 45.
I'd be interested to see what the market value is on it. It's definitely not your average mobile home. It almost looks like it. They have some kind of foundation there, some kind of structure under to make a basement.
Well, let's do this. Yeah, that's got to be it there. If we have any questions about it, we could see from the map here. Map would tell us, and I think that is correct. Yeah, it is.
Looks like it's close to the lake. Scroll out a little.
Yeah, it is. It's right on this lake flower.
Community college close by.
Yeah, it looks like there is. There's a bunch of stuff there close by.
But even though this is in the, I don't know if it's quite northern part of New York or whatever it is, these are still good areas where the markets are good. There's homes being sold there. This is one of the big advantages of looking up the property on different services to see when it last sold, and if there's something like interior photos that we can see there, even though those interior photos may be a couple of years old, it'll still give us an idea of what the photos were at the time when they were taken, or the condition was.
Yeah, we can also see, between Redfin and Zillow, it's between 106, 109,000. So say 108,000, but yeah, we do have a bunch of photos, that we can go off of here. They've got 21 photos here, on this site, which is a lot. That's not 21 photos. But it's the other things we can see here about it. Yeah, built in 75. So at 45,000, they paid for it a bit, but not too much here, considering that it looks like it's in nice shape. And this was from, let's see, when did this sell? Here we go. It was in 2021. And so, yeah, 4 years, 5 years old. Not that old though. Here are the images.
Look at that. Go back, go and scroll down. Look at that market. Up, down, up, down. That's a weird drop.
Yeah, the purchase there in 2021 was for
67,000.
Yeah, 67,000.
I think that they're looking at that condition. I mean, I think the condition on it is probably pretty good.
Yeah, I think the condition on it is really good. Yeah, and that's probably one of the main things that you would be looking for, in a lot of these properties, is to make sure that the condition is right. But on those where the condition is right, or the condition is pretty good, you can get them for good low percentages of value. I mean, this one again under 25% of value is what it was showing for. And like Steve pointed out before, all of these properties also actually had a showing schedule. There was a certain day when you could get inside these properties and look at them. So that part of it also is nice, because if there's anything you're targeting, you had the chance to go in or send somebody in to get images of the property, so that you knew what it was like on the inside and the outside, which that's rare for tax sales.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I was just gonna say, even ones like this one are actually, pretty good deals. Sold for 80,000, but this one's actually, it's a single family home with an apartment that's attached to it as well, built in 1970. If we go and we pull it up here, let me just copy that part of the address in Minerva here, and we'll locate it.
You might be able to click the Google map down there below and see if you're going to the same place on the listing. I think they have a Google map.
Yeah, they do here. No, it does not look like. Let's see here. Olmsted Road here. That's what I need. Is I need Olmsted Road.
Yeah, it's more rural.
Yeah,
that apartment would be nice though.
Before the value on the property is pretty good, and I think you would have the ability to do pretty well with the income. I mean, they've got it set at 213 is what the county has estimated at, but it
I think
also
when we
includes.
looked into it, it was over 250.
Yeah, well, there's also 18 acres of land with it too. So
Yeah.
it's a nice big lot. You can see the lot right there. It's a nice accessible lot, but it's also a pretty deep lot. Yeah, so that's what it's doing. Is it's actually it must go out.
Well, and really, you've got to consider something like when we're looking at the Zillow sites or Redfin. They're most of the time they're not going to be considering or taking into account that it has an additional apartment on it. And so what do we think that apartment is worth? An extra 20 grand, 30 grand? I guess it would kind of depend on how big it is. But for a lot of people, that extra apartment, might be perfect for them and would set your property apart if you bought this than a bunch of the other properties within the area.
Yeah, I know. I found the property on here.
We could find it another time, but
Yeah, all of these are pretty good examples, though. Good examples of properties that sold for good low percentages of value. A few of them were, where they where they paid up for them a little bit, but most of the stuff sold for pretty cheap, pretty low prices.
It's kind of funny. Might be a bad deal. Just scroll back up a little further and look at that huge one. They only spent 20,000 for it, and it's got a value of 200,000. But with this big, I mean, it says it's a single family resident, but it's on Hospital Road. I wouldn't be surprised if it was an old hospital.
Yeah, I mean, it says it's 3,500 square feet.
Or something medical related. And so unless you're planning on reclaiming that, that could be the kind of job that would probably avoid unless you had a specific skill.
Heck yeah, yeah, that one would be so hard to do. It's just so big it would never end. Yeah, there are a few, and there were some houses that were also burnt down, that would be pretty challenging, and that that you'd probably want to avoid. But there's also lots of properties that were, not too bad, and that were worth going after. A lot of them they're still occupied, but the ones that were good though, you get them at between 25% of value. There's a lot of properties you can make work and do pretty well on if you can pick them up at that low of a percentage, and that was the case with a lot of these properties. Which is that's about as good number I think as you can get anywhere. I mean, motivated sellers aside, I think you're going to have a hard time finding better deals than that on these properties. Being able to get it for at least lower than that, those are numbers you can make work. If you pay more than 25-30% on a lot of these, you're putting yourself at risk of not having enough money to do some of the repairs or things that may come up or that may be needed, on properties, because a lot of these are older properties. So that's something we have to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, well, and one thing that's a little bit unique about this area in New York, is they're actually fixing up these old homes.
Oh, you know what? One
So,
of our we actually had somebody bought one of these. Hold on. Now let's see here. Okay, let me pull it up here. Oh, nice. Nice. This one that we were sorry, I saw the comments there and I could see one of our students saying, hey, I bought this property. I got to see it from the inside. It's next to a college, and walking distance from downtown. Yeah, that is awesome. And have a look at 105 and 106 too.
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I thought it was in good shape.
Yeah, yeah, these are yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, 109 is awesome. You did so well on that. Really pleased to hear that you got that.
Yeah, well, and the condition looks nice, and the fact that it sounded like you got a chance to walk through it. You've got an idea of what the condition is, and that's where that additional information can help us make a way more informed decision than if we didn't know. The fact that you've got an idea, you were able to put eyes on it, or have somebody go out there and put eyes on it, get photos of it, that really helps our evaluation, where I'm willing to spend more money. The more information I have about a property, the more I'm willing to spend on it, because I know where the profit margins are going to be. One of the biggest things about tax sale investing is that unknown, where it could look good on the outside and then we go inside and it needs serious work. And so the more information that we can find, the better we can determine, or the more that we're willing to pay for a property, because the unknown is known at this point.
Yeah, in fact, it sounds like Shahid also uh, had a land surveyor go and check it out. And yeah, actually, I guess go and take a look at it from next door, which is awesome.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, yeah, that is really cool. Oh yeah, and the rental on it is $1,500, which is excellent. Oh, he took pictures, videos with commentary. That's what you need. That helps you out so much, especially as as an out of area investor. That's fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
you did really well on this purchase. You're gonna do great on this.
yeah, you did everything right, at this point. So that's awesome. And now you can kind of decide what you're going to do with it. I mean, even at renting it out, depending on what your strategy is, I mean, you could obviously turn around and resell it. You could take it through quiet title. You could sell it you know, after you've taken it through quiet title and not doing a rehab, you could rehab it, you could rent it out. I mean, even renting it out within a few years, it's going to pay for itself. And then you have a property that's completely paid for by itself, essentially a business setup that pays for itself. And then after a few years, 100% of that, you know, rental income that's coming in is going to be profit. So, yeah,
Yeah, well,
I think
and
a lot of
being
different
in a
ways you can go
college,
with it.
being in a college town too, it's probably ideal for college rentals like that. So, the real estate market there tends to be decent because people do want to live in a lot of those places. It's not they make them for nice places to live. I think they've got some pretty good schools and things like that that end up drawing people out. Yeah, I think for all of those reasons, it can work out really well. But that's great. I mean, yeah, I think long-term holding on that property, renting it out would be awesome. It has all the ingredients there for a really good rental. So fantastic.